Van Halen is one of the most legendary rock bands in history. But behind the powerhouse riffs and chart-topping hits lay stories of tension, betrayal, and broken brotherhood. For decades, fans have wondered why bassist Michael Anthony, one of the founding members, suddenly disappeared from the band that made him famous. Now, Anthony has opened up, revealing shocking truths about his fractured relationship with Eddie Van Halen, and why he finally walked away. The early brotherhood. Van Halen first exploded onto the rock scene in the late 1970s. Michael Anthony was there from the beginning. His thunderous bass lines and signature high-pitched harmonies gave the band their unique sound. Alongside Eddie Van Halen's legendary guitar skills, Alex Van Halen's drumming, and David Lee Roth's showmanship, Anthony helped the band dominate the airwaves with songs like Runnin', With the Devil and Ain't Talkin' 'Bout Love. For years it seemed like Van Halen was unstoppable. But behind the scenes, Anthony's bond with Eddie Van Halen was crumbling. The shift in power as the band grew bigger. Eddie began taking more control over the music and the group's direction. Anthony admits that this was when things started to change. Decisions were no longer made as a band, and slowly his role began to shrink. Eddie, known for his perfectionism and fiery personality, allegedly sidelined Anthony in the studio, even going as far as replacing some of his bass parts with his own recordings. For Anthony, it wasn't just a creative disagreement, it felt like a betrayal. "I gave everything to this band," he once revealed. And to be treated like I didn't matter was heartbreaking. The breaking point, the final straw, came in the early 2000s. When Van Halen reunited with Sammy Hagar for a tour in 2004, Anthony expected to be welcomed back into the fold. Instead, he says Eddie made it clear that his presence was barely tolerated. Not only was Anthony excluded from decision-making, but he was also forced to accept a reduced paycheck compared to his bandmates, something unheard of for a founding member. Anthony later revealed how humiliating it felt. "I was treated like a hired hand in the band I helped build from the ground up," he said. "Eddie did some horrible things to me, and I couldn't stay silent anymore." Eddie versus Michael. Eddie Van Halen, for his part, didn't hold back either. In interviews, he criticized Anthony's bass playing and suggested that he wasn't a true contributor to Van Halen's legacy. These harsh words shocked fans, especially since Anthony's harmonies had been a vital part of the band's sound from the very beginning. The feud between the two men became one of rock's most infamous riffs. Once close friends, now estranged bandmates who couldn't even share the same stage without tension. Life after Van Halen. Despite the painful exit, Anthony didn't let it end his career. He went on to join Sammy Hagar in Chickenfoot and The Circle, continuing to perform for loyal fans who knew just how important he was to the sound of Van Halen. Even though the wounds never fully healed, Anthony often said he still respected Eddie's genius as a guitarist, even if their friendship never recovered. Looking back now, years later, Anthony reflects on his departure with honesty. The betrayal hurt deeply, but it also freed him to pursue music without the toxic atmosphere that had overshadowed his final years with Van Halen. "I'll always be proud of what we created," Anthony shared. "But I can't ignore the pain of how it ended." For fans, his story is a sobering reminder that even rock legends aren't immune to jealousy, power struggles, and broken friendships.